Our next guest is Guns and Editor Frank Winn. What's going on, Frank?
How you doing there?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
You want to talk about pistol caliber carbines today while we cough at each other?
Hey, let's do it, because apparently you and I have both been stricken by the same bug.
Oh, man.
So I've always been fascinated by pistol carbines. Just something I think about them inherently that are just incredibly fun for a lot of people. Go ahead.
Well, I think you've got that one nailed down. Light recoil, less expensive ammunition, and of course it's something we've been doing in this country way back to the 1850s.
Yep, absolutely. So what was the most recent pistol carbine that you've been shooting thus far?
Well, we've actually been shooting through a bunch of them, mainly because we've had several at our disposal, but also we want to compare and contrast. Probably the most interesting one we shot recently is a Wyndham Weaponry out of Maine. They make their MCS gun, which is actually a 4 caliber gun, but that includes a 9mm pistol caliber carbine.
Huh.
You can loosen this bail here, take the barrel out, swap the bolt, and of course you've probably seen these, but many folks haven't. Here's a regular bolt. Notice no real lugged bolt like we're used to seeing on an AR, but no gas key either. And that's the big difference that most people misunderstand about pistol caliber carbines, is the fact that you don't have any gas driving the piston, driving through the, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah, I'm listening.
Going through a gas tube into the gas key, unlocking the bolt, and then driving the action. So that's the big difference. Most 9mm caliber carbines, and in fact, there's 10 mil out there, there's 45. We've got a 40 here today. They're all just straight blowback.
Now,
so
why is that? Is that preference? Is that the necessity by design? For those wondering.
Well, it's a mixture. First of all, it's mechanically simpler. The bolt is actually quite a little heavier. If you compare these, this bolt is about 8 ounces heavier than a normal AR bolt.
Okay.
But that's because it needs to resist that straight blowback pressure of the ignition of the cartridge, whereas this is timed by gas following the bullet down the bore.
Absolutely.
Another great thing about these, of course, is if you look at this, here's turn it around for you here. This is a Lone Wolf pistol caliber carbine. These guys have been at it a long time, and their rifles are pretty squared away. This particular one is 40 caliber. You'll notice it doesn't really look that much different than an AR. Now, a couple little things here. That's the ejector. Okay, that's what's going to push your spent cartridge out.
Yeah.
Notice the hammer architecture is a little different. You think you could miss that? Mag release?
I have hobbit hands, so I probably would, but yeah, most of Americans probably wouldn't.
But the reason I took all the stuff off here is to show you AR style stock can go on there. Of course, on the upper, right there is a Raptor charging handle, ambidextrous charging handle. You could put that in the gun. All kinds of things come straight out of the AR world and work in the pistol caliber carbine world, including
really freaking neat.
You can see there. What's interesting about this? That people that really know their Glock magazines, that's a 20-year-old Glock magazine, a Series 1 Glock magazine. All the shooting that we did for the videos you have there, we did with this magazine just to prove it could be done.
Wow.
There's a couple of videos there if you want to take a look at those. Call them out. I think the first pair are a pair of plate runs. One is with a 9mm, one is with a 40, and they're amazing how close they are in time.
Do we have those videos? All right, let's run it. Let's take a look at some of those videos.
That first one is full power 40 caliber.
And the second one was 9?
The second one was 9mm. It's actually a little bit faster, but not quite as smooth. I think the 40 slows you down a little bit.
Right. So it's like, it's my mind automatically goes to new shooters when I think pistol carbines. Like I think there's I don't want to say less theatrics involved in terms of the recoil and the operation of the gun and things of that nature, the gas and everything. But it's so enjoyable that I think starting somebody off when you go from handguns, because a lot of people get intimidated from going from a handgun to rifle. And I think going with a pistol carbine, when you start making that transition over, especially when you've already demonstrated, you made them a little familiar with the pistols in and of themselves, but then still shooting the same caliber in a pistol carbine and then making that transition. I think it makes it a lot smoother in my mind. What would you think?
Well, I think you're right, and of course the math bears it out. You can have, first of all, it's about 40% cheaper, or at least it can be. And the recoil difference, it seems to be just the right amount.
Yeah.
The rifles are just a little lighter out front, about 20% difference in felt recoil, most people seem to think. And when you combine that with less muzzle blast and less noise, you have a great indoctrination gun, a great way to teach a less experienced shooter, or especially a physically smaller shooter.
That is true. That is very, very true. Now,
because
go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say there's less emphasis. If we go back to our Wyndham for a second, there's less emphasis on having to support the gun out here, as you and I are inclined to do.
Yeah.
If you have to hold the gun here, you can do it very easily.
All day long. Yep. Now, as far as velocity, when we're running, because typically we're used to seeing pistol calibers being run out of 4 to 5, maybe even 3, even small as 2-inch barrels. Are you noticing any substantial increase in velocities out of these pistol caliber rounds, shooting them through pistol carbines?
When you put them over a chronograph, 9mm is the one that's most dramatic, at least so far, especially with light bullets. You can get 357 class power out of those lighter 9mm bullets.
Wow.
Velocities 1,600 feet per second. So there's a lot more power there. If you look at standard weight bullets, 115s, 124s, 147s, the velocity upgrade seems to be about 15%. But that adds power.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm all for the more velocity, the better for me.
Well, it makes them shoot flatter too.
Yeah.
There are people using these as varmint-style, pest control guns. The beauty of it is, that bullet is going to stop relatively soon because it doesn't start out with 3,100 feet per second of velocity.
Yep, and then also I take it, well, at least subsonic 9 and 45s. I mean, and then suppressing it, that just changes the entire experience.
Fabulous suppression. Speaking to the power issue, there's 2 more of those videos there. I'm shooting an 8-inch plate with 5 rounds from a handgun as fast as I can. Roll that one.
Let's roll that footage. Holy crap.
Okay, so I hit it 5 times, but it just dinged a lot, right?
Yeah.
Now roll the one where I hit it 5 times, ammunition out of the same box, but I hit it 5 times with the carbine.
Okay, that's substantial.
It's pretty easy to see the difference, isn't it?
Absolutely, and then I noticed the groups as well. So, yeah, that's crazy. That's an incredible pickup in terms of velocity, just based on that barreling.
Well, and like I said, it's really dramatic with light bullets because you can push them really fast, and it's relatively easy on your brass too. I haven't. If someone reloads, they are going to think they have gone to heaven with pistol caliber carbine. You can load these things so soft that you can run at rimfire energies and still keep the gun running just fine.
Seriously?
Yep. With very heavy bullets, 110 foot-pounds of energy. Talk about a great training round, especially for a younger, less experienced shooter.
So now, you talked about how you guys were kind of shooting a bunch of different pistol caliber carbines. What tends to be the biggest variations between different platforms?
Well, right now, the big deal, and it's a great question, the big deal is from what I call 3rd generation to 4th generation pistol caliber carbines. The best example I can show you right here is a Wilson Combat. And I'm going to hold it up really close and watch right in the middle there. Can you see a little motion right here? And look right here, too. That is the capability that has been missing up until now on about half the carbines, and that is bolt hold open on the last round. So the older generation of carbines, they shot great, but because of the mechanical complexity of doing that, they left out bolt hold open. Is it the end of the world? By no means.
Yeah.
The gun, you know how an AR is. That last round feels different.
Yeah.
Same thing on a pistol caliber carbine.
It's like
my competition gun. I'm sorry.
No, I was saying that usually the last shot on a carbine is in my mind it feels like a wolf of air. Like it just kind of I think something just feels empty. It's just like
that's a fabulous description. Yeah. I'm going to steal that.
Hey, have at it.
And if that isn't swoopy enough for you, how do you like this?
Oh yeah, that's that Scorpion carbine.
That's right.
Yeah, buddy.
This is a whale of a fine rifle.
Yeah.
I think people tend to look at the polymer outer of it and think, well, how good can that be? Well, shoot one and you'll see how good.
I did a video on it, and I have to say I walked away incredibly impressed. That was.
Well, I couldn't agree more. I mean, essentially, if you were to put these sights on another gun, run you about $200.
Yeah.
Just the sights. Yep. To say nothing of how easy it is to maintain, and the fact that you can fold the stock down. If you want to shoot it as a pistol, you can do that. It's legal to do so because that's how it came into the country. Of course,
the faux suppressor.
Yeah.
Love the faux suppressor. I mean, I think as a package, man, that is one of the best bang for your buck pistol caliber carbines you can get your hands on.
I agree.
Yeah.
And another thing, if you're looking for an optic for it, one thing we discovered with our Vortex Razor here, riserless mount, absolutely perfect because of the drop that you see back here.
Okay.
This is perfect. It's a little higher than some others, but a little lower than most, and especially lower without the riser. It's way better.
That's funny you say that. I'm having an issue now with trying to find that balance between the height of my optic and trying to get that. So would that co-witness with those irons?
No,
they won't co-witness. Okay.
It's the irons are just a little too low. This rifle really wants to get you down low on the rifle, which is good for precision, good for muzzle control. But when you're shooting a red dot, I think most people like to have the head a little more erect. And certainly, for me, this was perfect.
You know, it's funny.
I tried 4 optics on there, and this one was perfect.
The interesting thing about that, I don't know what it is about me, but I actually like with red dots. I want to get on it as low as possible. For whatever reason, and I run into the issue of trying to find an optic that's not too high, but then not too low, and then and trying to find that balance. Well,
and doctrine is a funny thing. I don't want to say that thinking that you're not wrong. That's the real point. What you can reproduce, and especially reproduce quickly, is the single most important thing. As a general rule, when people get their head and the gun moving, they have a harder time finding the dot. When you don't move your head, it's easy to bring the dot with a handgun or a rifle just up to the line of sight. But if you've done it the other way for decades or even a few years, I wouldn't change that as long as you're happy with the speed.
That only applies for me with rifles. When it comes to handguns, you're absolutely right, because I do find myself doing this here, trying to find the red dot. I'm still haven't quite perfected.
And you never watch a center fielder bob his head while he's trying to run and catch the ball.
Which is true.
His head is as still as it can be. But on a rifle, too, you have another advantage. You've got that cheek weld. So you're close.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
You've got another point of contact, so it doesn't really matter. If that's what works for you, I'd keep doing it.
Absolutely. Now, was there another pistol carbine that really stood out to you that you really enjoyed?
Well, we talked about the Wilson. The Wilson is the most recent Gen 4 gun that I've shot, and it was merely fabulous. One thing about the Wilson, it is essentially a custom gun. And you have to remember that. It will take 300 or 400 rounds to really start behaving the way it should. But it's so tight and beautiful that it'd be interesting to find out how many rounds you can put through that rifle. I'll bet it's dozens of thousands.
I can only imagine. There's always that kind of build-up period when you're dealing with a gun that's custom like that, and then having to put the rounds through it to really kind of get all of the tolerances working in unison. And then you hit that point of perfection, and it's just like this. I love it.
Well, and the folks at Wilson, of course, they know all about making guns last a long time.
Yeah.
And that's why the tolerances are so tight to start with. You know, another rifle that I think you've got one last video there where I've kind of set up a modified El Presidente, the classic USPSA classifier.
Uh-huh.
This is the rifle I shot it with. This is another very high-end pistol caliber carbine from JP Rifles.
Okay.
Can't say enough good about this as well. Really a fabulous rifle. Interesting thing here that I have really come to appreciate is side charging.
I love side chargers.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah, big. You know, you can see. Look at the scale of that.
Yeah, that's massive.
Handle.
That
I mean,
is
you can easily control the whole rifle with the handle.
That's my grandfather's side charger.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, thanks a lot. But now the cat's out of the bag. Everybody knows we're related, right?
Hey, well, I mean, it was a pretty good secret nonetheless. You know, we got the pigmentation correct. So, you know.
You might want to take a look at that. I think that's the last video we sent you was that.
Okay, let's take a look.
Modified El Prez.
Look at that reload. Ooh, man, look at those grooves. You just cannot talk about the accuracy ability. It's not even a word. The ability to shoot guns like these incredibly accurately.
Well, and I think it's just the natural pointing benefits that go along with pistol caliber. Well, that go along with hand grip style rifles. I do think they point a little more naturally.
I agree.
And it's different for individual people, but if you can access that pointing instinct, especially with the other hand, at those kind of ranges, I think that was 10, 12, and 15 where the fights were, give or take a step or two. But I'm essentially pointing at the target as much as I am aiming. And that really does let you go pretty fast, even for a old slow guy.
Well, I mean, I tend to. The weird thing is, I tend to overshoot pistol caliber carbines because you can't shoot them so fast.
There's a lot to that. That's one of the reasons that this rifle, this is that JP again. This has a carbon arms, carbon fiber.
I can imagine how light that thing is.
Now. Well, that's the reason. The JP handguard was fabulous, but I was over-swinging the rifle as a matter of routine.
Okay.
By reducing the weight, I had an EOTech on here, which I absolutely loved, especially when I was trying to shoot the gun at longer distances. But by taking off the EOTech, fabulous sight for this kind of gun, but a little heavy.
Yeah.
And putting on a new, lighter handguard, the gun does move better for me.
Awesome.
So
yeah, I keep telling people all the time that the balance of the rifle is probably more important than necessarily just overall weight or lack thereof of weight. Yeah.
And that is going to be different for different people.
Which is true. Absolutely.
I actually like the gun when I'm shooting a real centerfire rifle caliber gun. I do not like light-nosed guns myself because they hunt too much.
Yeah, they really do.
I would rather carry more weight if I'm in the field than have the gun just wobble
all
around.
Over the place. Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Frank. It was a much pleasure. I can sit here and talk guns all day long, so don't be a stranger. And definitely keep us updated on some of the other guns that you guys are testing out. As a fellow reviewer myself, I love to hear different people's perspectives who do the same thing. So really looking forward to it.
Well, the problem you and I have is we almost always reach the same conclusion.
Which is true. Which is very, very true. Our journeys may be different, but our conclusions are typically the same.
That's because we're so smart.
Yeah, right. And we're related. Thank you very much, Frank. I love it.
Great to be with you.
Absolutely. You have a good one.
Bye for now.
Bye. So that's going to be it for another awesome episode of Seeing Live. Be sure to join us again tomorrow. I'm Colion Noir, and I'm out.